What's up, everybody? This is Sea Lunch Sports. You're listening to Kennedy Curley and Hayden Klinkhammer. Today is the start of free agency.
Yes.
We've been talking about it for like a month now, probably longer, honestly. We've been making all these lists. We've been talking about underrated free agents and top 5 teams to gain, things, we're talking about and just so many lists, so many speculation, rumors, things like that. Today is the day that we get to start hearing about the actual truth, what really is going to happen. No longer speculation. So right now, it is 4:42 Central Time. Free agency officially starts at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. But we've already heard a bunch of rumors, so we're just going to go ahead and talk about this. And today is just going to be a kind of a spitball podcast session, and we're going to just talk about the news as it comes in. We don't know how long this will be. It could be short, could be long. It probably will be long, probably not short. And so we're just going to go with it. The first thing that we've heard has been that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and DeAndre Jordan are all planning on signing with Brooklyn. So we're not super surprised with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. It seemed, in my opinion, like that always made sense. I wouldn't go to New York. They're a mess. They've always been a mess. And if you're not going there with somebody, there's no real point in going to New York. It's right down the road, but it's also a big market. Maybe not as high of a brand as New York, but it certainly is one.
I would argue, that they're better set up basketball-wise.
Organization is better. I wouldn't go back to Golden State because I'm still salty that they tore his Achilles. The Golden State Warriors.
I know what was really interesting about that is that it really came down to Golden State and Brooklyn. Obviously I get the whole, he likes the fact that, that team is loaded, but it was interesting to me that he was considering it, that badly. Obviously the money aspect didn't hurt. But, now all of a sudden, because apparently Steph, Clay, and the GM were supposed to meet with Kevin Durant. And I don't even know if that ended up happening.
Technically, we shouldn't even know any of these details because free agency hasn't started. So honestly, it's kind of funny to me that we're getting information about contracts when teams haven't technically been able to talk to Kevin Durant. I'm sure maybe they could meet sometime or maybe not meet, but they might answer the phone call. But at this point, it kind of sounds like Kevin Durant's a Brooklyn Net. Kyrie Irving, we always kind of knew was a Brooklyn Net. The only thing that doesn't make that much sense to me is DeAndre Jordan. They already have Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. I guess he's a cheaper deal because Kyrie and Kevin Durant are going to take up the bulk of the salary. But Jared Allen's already the guy there. He's a center, but it makes a little bit of sense in that he's Kevin Durant's guy. They're friends. They've been friends for a while. When DeAndre Jordan originally planned on signing with the Mavs before he reneged on that contract, there was actually a pretty big rumor that the season after, when Kevin Durant was going to become a free agent, he was going to look at the Mavs because him and DeAndre Jordan were that good of friends. So that makes a little bit of sense to me, but as far as a fit, it's weird to me.
It just means someone's gonna come off the bench, which is interesting. Because KD's not gonna play this year anyway. So, I'm curious to see how long the DeAndre contract is and how much they ended up paying for him. I don't know if Woj has reported the numbers for that part yet, but I know KD is supposed to get his 4-year 164 million, and Kyrie's supposed to get his 4-year 141 million. But I'm curious to see with what DeAndre's numbers in terms of money is going to be.
Real quick to people who are listening or watching. If you're listening, you're probably not going to notice, but if you're watching, we're probably going to be on our phone a little bit just because that's where the news is coming in. But I agree. I think I can't imagine DeAndre Jordan is getting that much money.
No, I agree.
Once you hand out 2 max contracts, it's kind of hard to
I agree.
give that much more. But I think one of the interesting things, and we all kind of saw this coming, but now the question is, where is D'Angelo Russell going to go? Obviously there's been talk about him going to the Lakers, but according to Chris Bouchard, actually,
Kawhi
is actually the Lakers to lose, quote unquote. And we'll see if that happens. Kawhi Leonard's always kept things kind of close to his chest, but
any rumors with Kawhi at this point, I'm not going to believe until it actually happens, because like you said, it's been, because just yesterday when we were on the air, all of a sudden there was talk that Kawhi and KD were trying to play together on the Clippers. So it's so like, with him, it is the most difficult thing to try and guess what's going to happen.
I really do think with Kawhi, it will come down to those meetings with those teams. He's going to meet with the Lakers. He's going to meet with the Clippers. He's going to meet with the Raptors. And I'm not entirely sure if there are other teams on that list that he will meet with. But I think that he's someone who, he has a tough decision. He can go back home, play with either the Lakers or the Clippers, or he can stay where he just won a championship and where the country loves him. He's the new athletic hero of the entire country, and so they're offering him all sorts of free things. And like I just said, they just won the championship. It's hard to leave a team that just won an NBA final. Even LeBron, when he was with Miami in his last season, there were talks from the beginning of the season that he was looking at going back to Cleveland, and they asked him about what if the Heat won a championship, and he said, I think it would be extremely hard to leave a team that that's just a hard thing to do. And so I don't know where he's going to go. I don't think anyone really knows until it happens. But to say that the Lakers are to lose, I'm not buying that just yet. But I mean, who knows? I'm not an insider, and if he is going to the Lakers, I think that's clearly the heavy favorite, in my opinion. Even when KD comes back to Brooklyn, DeAndre Jordan will be 32, 33. Kyrie.
Brooklyn, especially definitely not this year.
This year it's a waste, but
but anything can happen in the East, especially now that KD is not going to the Knicks, or we assume he's not going to the Knicks. A lot of the top players in the NBA, except for maybe Kawhi if he stays in Toronto, are in the West. Mm-hmm. So, it'll be interesting. I actually think Boston, I'm not necessarily going to say that they're more talented with Kemba Walker as opposed to Kyrie, but I think that they will play better with Kemba as opposed to Kyrie.
Yeah. I mean, they have they're in an interesting it is interesting because I think most people would say that Kyrie Irving is better than Kemba Walker as an individual talent. But maybe it's not what the Celtics were looking for with Brad Stevens' system.
Yeah.
I think that Kemba Walker, he's always come off as a pretty laid-back personality. You don't hear from him too much. He doesn't cause too many problems. He's not a drama guy. Excuse me. Maybe he will be a really good fit with that locker room. Maybe he'll get along with the younger players a little bit better. Maybe he won't have as much of a problem deferring to guys like Jason Tatum or Gordon Hayward or any of those, Jaylen Brown. I think that it's interesting because you're getting a guy who, for the first time in his career, he'll actually have some help on his team. He'll actually have other stars or potential stars to be able to pass to and to be able to rely on. And so it could go one of two ways. It could be, okay, he's having to learn how to play with these guys, which probably will happen at least to some degree. But it also could be you might find him generally being more, I don't know the word, but like you might find it easier for him to rely on his teammates because that's been something that he might have been longing for like he might be hungry for teammates for a very long, even when he was at UConn.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Primarily him. And so, this has been a thing throughout Kemba Walker's career is that he's always kind of had to carry the burden, and this might be the first time where he finally feels relieved enough to where he's actually, pleased to play with all these, ball dominant players. I don't know, but I do like the fit, and I think that he's a selfless enough player to make that team a better team. And I think that they just need to figure out what they're going to do in the post, and once they figure that out, I think they could be a really dangerous team in the East.
Yeah. I may even go as far to say, depending if what happens with Kawhi, I would put them close to the top of the East again.
Yeah.
Obviously Milwaukee's always going to be, probably my pick. Another thing that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mirotic, went overseas. So now they don't have to pay him. So I'm curious, they just paid Middleton and Brook Lopez, but I'm curious now whether they'll match any offer for the Brogdon.
That does kind of throw a curveball in there. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I just found that interesting that, Milwaukee was offering him a good amount of money. So it was interesting that he's going overseas. He's playing for Barcelona. Obviously, the Spanish league is probably the second best league in the world outside the NBA. So it's not necessarily, a huge step down, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because there were talks that, he was going to follow Darren Collison into even retiring. And then all of a sudden, he's going to play for Barcelona. So that changes things. Obviously, they're less deep, but I'm curious to see what they do with that extra amount of money now that they were going to pay Mirotic.
Mm-hmm.
If they use it in a good way, I honestly think they could keep Brogdon and still add to who they have.
Yeah, it'll be interesting too. One of my questions, it could go into Brogdon's contract, or what are they planning on doing with George Hill? Because George Hill is someone that they also have to keep. And George Hill, I could see his side being like, okay, look, you lost out on Mirotic. Now you can pay us a little bit more money. And so it still could go a number of ways, but I have to think that it can only help the case for Brogdon returning to the Bucks. It just depends, in my opinion, on how much someone offers him.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe someone out there does think that he's worth the max. I know that there were a lot of teams.
His max is
about 27-ish million.
Yeah. Okay.
To me, honestly, I don't think that that's a big deal for him. I think that that's maybe an overpay slightly, but I think that if you like him enough, that $27 million a year in a few seasons is not going to be nearly as much as it is now.
Yeah.
We see that every year, every contract. When we think about when Chandler Parsons was paid by the Dallas Mavericks, he was paid, I think, 3 years, $46 million, and that was the max contract at that point for him. And now we look at that, and that's a mid-tier.
Yeah.
Same with Wesley Matthews.
I mean, the Bucks just paid Brook Lopez $52 million. So, that was a 4-year deal though. So but still, either way,
that's about the same years.
Yeah.
Dollars per year as Chandler Parsons was, and Wesley Matthews was paid about $17 million a year on his contract with the Mavericks, and now it's like $17 million is about how much you would pay someone like, I don't know, how much is Terry Rozier getting paid? 3 years, $58 million, so almost $20 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still not a max contract, and so it's just $27 million for Malcolm Brogdon is, in my opinion, that's a little bit of an overpay, but it really might not look like that much in another few seasons, especially with this season being the big free agent season. This big free agent offseason season, see too many guys who you can overpay for. The season after that, I'm not entirely sure that there will be too many big-time free agents. Maybe, I don't know if Giannis is a free agent then, and even if he is, he might stay.
he's one of the few guys that I would say, I can already start to tell at this point that I don't see him leaving, at least not yet. Not yet.
It'll just depend on what happens because this is really the first year that we've taken the Bucks seriously.
Well, yeah.
And as much as I do think that they are a legitimate team going forward, there's also the off chance that they could slip into irrelevancy with the Nets, coming up, not this season, but the season after. And then depending on how the 76ers improve, and I'll get into that in just a second, but if they keep Jimmy Butler or Tobias Harris or both, they were one shot away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. We wouldn't be talking about Kawhi the same way that we are,
I agree.
Or maybe we would, but we wouldn't be talking about the Raptors as champions. And so you still have those guys. You have the Celtics. The Eastern Conference is pretty loaded. And so if that continues to go forward and the Bucks kind of slip into this mid-tier phase, or if it was just kind of a fluke season like the Atlanta Hawks that one year when you remember when they were like a 60-plus team with Al Horford and the second best player was Mark Harrell.
Or Millsap.
Was he? Okay, yeah. That was kind of a fluke season.
Millsap kind of dropped off a little bit.
Yeah. If this turns out to be some season like that, which I don't think it will, but just if it is, then that's when I could see Giannis maybe looking at going elsewhere. But as of now, I think that that's a team that should be looked at as a favorite to win the Eastern Conference. So I just don't see it happening. And I think that Malcolm Brogdon only enhances that case.
Yeah. The thing with Brogdon, he just fits so well on that team. Obviously you're not ever going to expect him to be probably a number one guy. Because he's already 27, so it's not like he's gonna, continue to get that much better. He's not the most athletic, but all of a sudden, he plays defense, he makes shots, he's a good fit.
He's athletic enough, and he's good.
No, I agree. The difference between, obviously this is different, and you said, but the difference is with that Atlanta Hawks team, they didn't have a superstar, of the Giannis caliber, because even when they got to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs, they got swept, because in the playoffs, what matters is having the guy that can get you above, But I agree. There's definitely a chance that if Giannis has plateaued and never really develops anything more than this, I could definitely see it. But I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's going to be the case either. And we'll just have to see. Maybe Chris Middleton falls off. Maybe Malcolm Brogdon, this was just a fluke year for him. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think, I think that the Bucks are headed in a good direction with Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez staying, Mirotic losing him. I wasn't that big of a fan of his, honestly. I think I sent you a message during the Eastern Conference Finals that I think he's trash. I exaggerate a little bit. I don't think he is trash, but I certainly don't see the hype around him. I thought that he was a decent shooter at times, and that was really about it.
Yeah.
But he's young-ish. What is he in his prime now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he has value. I don't want to say that losing him is a good thing. He certainly is a good player, and you want to keep him on the team at the very least for depth. But yeah, that's kind of the Bucks for you. I think that they'll be fine.
Yeah. Something I was reading earlier. This is just speculation, but something I found interesting with the Jazz. Actually, they just traded for Mike Conley. But in order to do that, they had to trade Jay Crowder, who was like their
Real quick, it is 5:01. Free agency has started. Continue. We might just have some alerts that interrupt certain conversations if they're that important.
Yeah.
But continue with what you're saying. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just reading this earlier. It's all speculation, but something I found kind of interesting and something that what happened?
Harrison Barnes is back with the Sacramento Kings on a 4-year, $85 million deal. Derrick Rose has agreed to a 2-year, $15 million deal with the Pistons.
I did see that they were going after him. Bro, why, man? No.
I don't blame them, to be honest, because I don't think that they're going to get anybody else in Sacramento. I mean, they had room to get Tobias Harris, but realistically, I think that Tobias Harris is probably going to get a very close to, if not the max contract by some team out there. And if no matter what team it is, they probably have a better chance to get Tobias Harris than the Sacramento Kings, in my opinion. Although they're young and talented and they look better than they have in the past, no one really thinks about Sacramento.
Oh no, I agree. I agree.
So that's why I said it wasn't that bad of a deal for them to keep Harrison Barnes, but that's still a lot of money for him.
That one hurts a little bit. But yeah, so actually, what's the white shooter's name from Indiana? Bogdanovich?
Bogdanovich, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a lot of bigger names talking about him looking to join Utah as their small ball forward. And so that would give them, Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, and Rudy Gobert.
Is he a restricted or unrestricted free agent?
Unrestricted.
Okay.
He's unrestricted.
There you go.
So to me, I would take the Jazz a whole lot more seriously than I think, a lot of people are really talking about them. Obviously everyone on here knows how high I am on Mike Conley. Donovan Mitchell, I go back and forth on. I still think, he's young, so he'll grow. I think he's a good, solid player, but at least the defensive sort of potential in that team could make them scary. And then you add in a second and even third shot creator, and obviously Mike Conley, and then Bogdanovich is not the best shot creator, but he's
a shooter. He can really shoot.
Yeah.
And so could Ingles is still on that team, right? He wasn't in that trade.
Yeah.
And I actually think that he was a better shot creator than probably given credit for, because he just doesn't look. He looks like a dad playing basketball, but he actually can kind of get to the rim sometimes. And
funny is he shoots like a dad too.
He does.
So just everything about him reminds me of a dad playing basketball. And then you watch him play and he's checking wings and knocking down threes and it's just funny. It's funny.
No, I think that the Jazz have they're the dark horse team in my opinion that no one's really talking about. But we might be talking about them come season or even right before the season, depending on what they do this free agency. One of the things that we talked about was the possibility, I think I briefly talked about it yesterday, was if the Clippers can get 2 max players, I think they would have to deal away Danilo Gallinari.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Jazz would be a team that could take him or not, but I just like the idea of putting him on that team because...
Oh, no, I agree. Again, small ball 4 right there. Perfect.
I mean, I think that would just be a really fun they needed offensive players. They were always, I think, generally a pretty good defensive team.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least their 2 main guys are good at defense, and now they have Conley. So they have 2 main scorers. Gobert is a decent inside the paint type of scorer. If you add shooters, you have Joe Ingles, you have maybe Bogdanovich. Or if you were able to somehow sneak off a trade for Danilo Gallinari, if that ever comes to fruition.
Yeah,
it's a team that I think really has the potential to surprise people.
I agree. So I just got this. JJ Redick signed with the Pelicans.
Ooh, okay.
2 years.
All over the place.
Yeah. 2-year, $26.5 million deal.
And he gets paid too. That man gets money.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday. Looking at his numbers, it's again, like a dad. He's literally a small white dude that's slow.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, especially on that team, they need all the shooters they can get right now.
According to Shams Charania, Kevin Durant says he will sign with the Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if that's official yet or not. He said he was going to post it on his Instagram, right?
Yeah. Let me.
What was What was that page that everyone was? I'm just gonna.
Oh yeah, Kevin Durant makes it official. Formally announces he's signing max deal with on the boardroom. His show.
Boardroom.
Yeah, his show. He just made it official right now. So yes, Kevin Durant is a Brooklyn Net.
There we go. Yeah, we were just talking about that, but I think that it's an interesting team because this season they're not really someone I'd take seriously. But next season, I don't know if I'll take them. I mean, I have to take them seriously because I've been saying for the past season, or at least half season, that I think Kevin Durant's the best player in the world. And although he is coming off of a very gruesome injury, I still have to think that even him at 70% is a very, very good basketball player. And if he can get better to that 100%, then, him and Kyrie and I don't know what DeAndre Jordan will be like in 2 seasons, but he's still a decent player. His rim protection skills have gone down just a little bit. He's not as good of a defender as he was known as before, but he's still a decent defender, or he's capable of being a good defender, in my opinion. And his rebounding is off the charts. I think that team is a very good team to look forward to, not this season, but next season. So we'll just have to see. But, I mean, I guess we're waiting on DeAndre Jordan. Has he made it official?
I haven't heard, but all signs are pointing to it, according to Woj, not Woj. Yeah. So again, none of those are too surprising, except the DeAndre, a little bit, but even then, like you said, friendship with KD,
Yeah. I'm seeing that Kemba Walker to the Celtics has been made official according to Woj. Woj, first off, is breaking everything. I'm not seeing anything from anybody else.
Walker.
Yeah, so 4 years, $141 million. Kemba Walker.
Boston.
We talked about this briefly already. We actually went into good detail about it, but Kemba Walker could be just a better fit. I honestly, I think he's a little bit. I actually think he's pretty similar to Kyrie offensively. I think he might be a better facilitator than we probably give him credit for, and we don't see it in the numbers necessarily because his team has always been trash.
Yeah.
But I think that I like him in Boston. I wish that he went to the Mavs, obviously, because I'm biased, but I see more reason to go to the Celtics. For as much as they lost in free agency with Al Horford and Kyrie Irving, they're still a young team with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. We don't know what Gordon Hayward's going to be like, but I know people have kind of given up on him a little bit this season. I still think that there's hope that Gordon Hayward could be a reasonable third guy on the team, especially with a coach that he is familiar with and has played with, a long time ago. I think that team is. I think that he still has that potential, but this season we didn't see it. He was playing, injured or rusty the whole season, so it'll just depend on his rehab. But that team really could be. They might have not just disappeared like everyone thought that they were going to.
I definitely agree. What's interesting, all of a sudden, this is coming back up now. The whole Draymond and KD argument during the season when Draymond dared KD to leave and said, "We don't need you. We won without you." And now everyone is going at Draymond on Twitter. So I found that funny.
That's funny. Yeah. Oh, thanks for retweeting my KD.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like what?
Yeah. This to listeners, this person. This Twitter account reported, or they didn't report anything. They asked a question: with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and DeAndre Jordan reportedly headed to the Nets, do they win a title next season? No, next season Kevin Durant is probably not going to be playing, and if when he does come back, is he going to be the same player immediately? Paul George came back and from a similar injury to actually Gordon Hayward, and he wasn't the same player when he came back because he came back late in that season, and he just looked funky. And then the season afterward, he started to play like the Paul George that we know, and so. Kind of going back to the Celtics, I think that Gordon Hayward could have a similar rehab. Hopefully, I hope that that's the case for him. But
it's official. Congrats, Kristaps, to the Mavs.
Oh, yeah.
They signed his 5-year deal.
Good. That's good. I do have words to say about that. I was talking to you about this through text yesterday, but I just want to start this off by saying, as a Mavs fan, I'm not even going to pretend to be biased here. I'm a Mavs fan. I think that getting this was a great thing for the Dallas Mavericks, and it was a great mid-season trade position. Now I'm seeing Dallas Mavericks Twitter pages saying, "Oh, Mavs re-signed Chris, that's a successful offseason." They're saying that getting Kristaps is the primary focus and that everything else is icing on the cake. That is false. That is a loser's mentality. That's why we don't win championships other than the 2011 season where Dirk put the team on his back. Other than that, that's exactly why we've seen what we've seen over the last 8 years, is because we like to settle. I'm talking fans, I'm talking the organization, I'm talking everybody. Maybe even Carlo, I don't know. Everybody likes to settle. Porzingis, don't get me wrong, he's a good guy to have on the team, and I'm glad we're signing him to a max contract for 5 years. But if he's all that you get in Dallas for this offseason, you just get a bunch of reclamation guys, or you get just Patrick Beverly, nobody else, there are still a bunch of holes on that team, and that is not a successful offseason. We got Kristaps Porzingis mid-season. That was a good mid-season acquisition. Off-season, that's not a good off-season acquisition. He's already on the team. He wasn't a threat to leave the team. That's a bad and not only that, you had to pay the max contract, but you also had to pay, first round picks and Dennis Smith Jr. and all these guys. It wasn't just like you just signed him, he was just a returning player. You had to give up more than just the max contract. So if that's all you're getting, no, that's not enough. But congratulations to him and congratulations to us as Mavs fans, because I'm excited to see this as a future, duo with those two. I just wanted to voice that out, that I want the mentality to be more than let's keep what we have. And I think that we should be anybody. This is not just as a Mavs fan, as any organization, any fan base should not just settle for what they already have. And so that's my personal opinion on that matter. But good for him. I think that's a good duo. I really do. I think that's going to be maybe not a contender immediately, but down the road when all these players that we see now are getting old, Kristaps Porzingis, Luka Doncic could be the guys to carry the Mavs to contention.
Yes. Oh. I'm waiting for one very big announcement. And I feel like I'm going to be waiting a long time.
Is it the Kemba one or the Kawhi? There are too many K guys in this free agency.
Dude, so many.
You got Kristaps Porzingis, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, Kevin Durant. Did I say Kawhi Leonard already?
Yeah, but I mean, that's like 4 of the 5 top guys right there.
Hey, here's a fun one actually. We didn't know. I forgot he was even a free agent, but Trevor Ariza has agreed to a 2-year, $25 million deal with the Kings.
Oh, okay. See, I like that one better.
I really like that. I really do. So my thing on that is there have been talks. A lot of fan bases have probably had these similar talks, but the Lakers, the debate was, do you go after a max guy or do you split the money? The Mavs have been talking about that. Do you go after a max guy or do you split the money? The Kings really have no choice. They're not getting a max guy. So they're splitting the money. And they have a lot of money. They have a lot of money to spend this offseason. And so they're getting Harrison Barnes, but they also have leftover money after that. So they're getting Trevor Ariza. And I'm not entirely sure how much money they have after that. But they can afford to get all these role players on their team and create depth now, because De'Aaron Fox is still on his rookie deal. Buddy Hield, I'm pretty sure, is still on his rookie deal. Marvin Bagley is very much still on his rookie deal, and that's pretty much it. Harrison Barnes is the only guy who's getting paid more than $20 million on that team, and so they probably have a lot of expendable money that they can just afford to put on role players. It'll be interesting to see what they do at center, in my opinion, unless they decide to put Bagley there, because Willie Cauley-Stein is
yeah. See, okay, so that was gonna be something else that I talked about. I've seen a lot of, obviously I don't think they'll be able to now in terms of financially, but before the two signings of Barnes and Ariza, I saw that they could be interested in talking to Al Horford.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. I don't know if it's. I read something that said that either they weren't interested in him, or he wasn't interested in going there.
I I don't think that's the case anymore because now they have money tied up in the two wings. But it's interesting because I could see them playing Trevor Ariza at the 4 or even Harrison Barnes at the 4 because they have Bojan, the shooter. I never know how to pronounce his name, but
Isn't his last name Bogdanovich too?
Yeah. I never know. I always get him and the other guy confused.
Yeah, there's Bojan Bogdanovich, and then there's the other Bogdanovich as well.
Okay, so yeah, they're both Bogdanovich. There you go.
What's the other guy's first name?
Bogdan
Bogdanovich.
Bogdan, yeah.
And Bojan Bogdan. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. So I could see them playing Bagley as like the center because the way they play anyway, everything is so running the floor so fast. So I could see them playing Bagley at center. I don't know how well he would handle up physically banging with centers because he still, even last year, was thinner for a big dude. But who knows? Who knows? I'm so excited.
Yeah.
They're so much fun to watch. Literally, they're one of the reasons that I was happy that I got NBA League Pass this past season. Because I got to watch a team that, to be honest, I never, even thought about really until De'Aaron Fox got there.
Yeah.
And then they added Bagley, and so
it makes sense that they're as fun as they are to watch because De'Aaron Fox is a really bouncy type of player with that speed and agility and just that kind of energy that he always. He's just a very energetic player, and he's not just one of those energetic like JJ Barea is energetic. There are other guys in the league who are energetic, but he's like energetic and he can actually play as a. He's really good. And Buddy Hield was someone who both of those guys were really fun to watch in college.
Yeah,
skilled players. Buddy Hield's maybe not as energetic, but he has handles. He can shoot. He can create his own shot.
You know what? I'm really happy for Buddy Hield because a lot of people after just his one season in New Orleans were like, oh, this dude's going to be a bust. And then, he goes to Sacramento and, he hasn't necessarily been, an all-star, but, he's been a second option on a team that almost made the playoffs last year. So, I like to see that, kind of a feel-good obviously, you want to see him continue to develop, but I thought that was cool that he went there and kind of thrived in the way that they do it.
I think that Buddy Hield is someone who I think that he could have fit with New Orleans, but I think that Sacramento allowed him to be him. They allowed him to play the way that he plays, and then they introduced De'Aaron Fox into that team, and Buddy Hield maybe had to make a little bit of an adjustment, but it wasn't nearly as big of an adjustment as going from OU being this guy who's putting up close to 30 points a game, or I don't know how many, like upper 20s, to going to New Orleans and everything goes through Anthony Davis. And I think he was part of the DeMarcus Cousins trade, so he didn't have to play with him. But, just he had to be a supporting guy. And as much as he has to be that now, too, it's probably an easier transition for him to be a supporting guy who can still have the ball as opposed to being, just another guy on the New Orleans Pelicans. And I think that that's allowed him to grow a lot more than the complete contrast of roles that he had in New Orleans.
I agree. And also, to me, as De'Aaron Fox continues to develop his point guard vision, because when he came in, he had a little bit of it, but there were times where he got tunnel vision. Mm-hmm. And even just that's what made the huge jump from, his rookie year to this last year is, he got better at seeing the floor going at that pace, that fast all the time. That team, with the way they play, they're always going to be risk of turning the ball over. But, at the same time, if you can get a guy who can learn to go that fast all the time and still make good decisions, I think that changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
I don't think we talked about this, and I said that we were going to talk about it, but yeah. So apparently earlier, this is not a anything new. Like right now, it's not a breaking news type of thing. But Jimmy Butler was apparently looking at Miami.
Yeah.
I read a report that he was planning on telling Miami that
he's interested.
That's where he wants to be. And I got to tell you, as much as I like Jimmy Butler, that really shocks me because it seemed like he was finally getting along with the guys. And at first, maybe him and Joel Embiid were a little bit on different pages, but eventually you started seeing that. What was it? Did Jimmy Butler get ejected out of a game?
Yeah.
Back him up, and then Joel Embiid joked that he was gonna pay for the fine or whatever if that happens. And I'm just, like, I thought that their chemistry that they were starting to have there was actually pretty fun, in my opinion. It was very notable going forward because I thought that they were going to keep Jimmy Butler. But if he's going to Miami, or if he's very seriously taking them into consideration, then I have a hard time seeing Philadelphia as the same contender now that JJ Redick is gone.
I agree.
Butler could leave, and then we don't really know what Tobias Harris is going to do. I haven't heard a single thing about him wanting to stay in Philadelphia. I haven't heard anything saying that he doesn't want to play there.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to wait until he gets offers from teams. That's what I think is going to happen. But the 76ers, I think, are one of those teams that they have potential to grow if they keep that same core from last season.
Yeah.
As much as they had talent, they didn't play with each other very long. They got both Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris this season. And so I completely understand why they weren't at their best form going into the playoffs. But with another offseason and then the whole season to play with each other, I think that team could be a favorite in the East, maybe even the favorite.
Yeah.
But if they don't bring those guys back and you just have Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, then that team could also be a pretty big bust.
Yeah.
Honest.
I just want to say this about, Ben Simmons. I will always support Ben Simmons because he's an LSU boy. But eventually, dude, you stop getting a pass. Even going into the draft, I know maybe necessarily we didn't talk about it, obviously, because we weren't doing this. But I was very vocal on the fact that I felt like he shied away from, using his talent to take over a game. I mean, he's basically a 6'10" point guard. Yeah. And the fact that he literally has not shown any improvement in terms of a jump shot, to me is a bit concerning. But at the same time, you know, I like the fit of Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris there because then that takes at least a little bit of the pressure off of him to all of a sudden, you know, magically get a jump shot. And I keep hearing all these people talking about Jimmy Butler wanting to be the heir apparent to D Wade in Miami, which I think if Jimmy Butler actually believes that, I think he's crazy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, literally they named it's called Wade County. Like what that's like going to the Bulls and trying to wear number 23.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, and I just don't see what the point of him going there would be.
I don't see it.
You know, because it would still have to be because the Heat don't have a max slot, so it would have to be a sign and trade.
Yeah.
So I don't even know. That. Yeah, I don't even know who, you know, I guess the Heat could consider giving up Dragic, but I mean, that you'd have to give up a lot if you're Miami, and they don't really have. Go ahead.
Sorry, if the Heat, that's my thing is like I would think that the 76ers have to feel good about their position because the two teams that are being tied to Jimmy Butler outside of Philadelphia, and then I guess you could say the Lakers, but they have other guys higher than them. The two primary teams are the Heat and the Rockets. Neither of them have space to get him. They have to do a sign and trade. So honestly, the 76ers could just say no. I honestly think that they have the leverage. What is Jimmy Butler going to say? Okay, I'm going to go to Los Angeles. Well, okay, what if Los Angeles gets Kawhi, or what if Los Angeles doesn't even want Jimmy Butler, which we're actually reading that they kind of don't. It would be either Kawhi or split it among and the guys that we were talking about yesterday.
I will say this: I saw that they're trying to at least get a meeting with him, but to me, I don't like the fit all that well. I think I would rather them spread it among, you know, different guys.
I go back on it.
Yeah. I think it probably depends on the day you ask me. Sorry, real quick. We were just talking about them at center. The Kings just signed Dwayne Dedmon to a 3-year, $40 million deal.
Great. 3 or 40, you said? That's about $13 million a year?
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, all of a sudden now, you know, dude, the West is gonna be tough. You know, because really their one weakness, you know, wow, okay. Yeah, that changes a lot of things because now Bagley can stay at the 4. And then even if they need to, they can still go small because Dwayne Dedmon can shoot threes. And interior presence is something, you know, Willie Cauley-Stein was all right with it, but kind of inconsistent. Hence why they were, you know, really not super upset about him wanting to leave. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good fit for them, for sure. Yeah. Sorry, that was.
No, you're good. Willie Cauley-Stein to me is not as he came into the league getting compared to Tyson Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
He was a defensive guy, rebounding guy at Kentucky, and came into the league. Compared to him, he was supposed to be a rim protector, and he's not that good of a rim protector. So I'm not entirely sure what his value really is, because it's not like he's an offensive genius either. He's not a brilliant talent offensively. He's not a brilliant.
He's supposed to be, like you said, he's supposed to be a Tyson Chandler guy. And you know, even this last year, it's the first time I consistently watched the Kings, but I found myself a lot of times like, you know, almost frustrated with like his lack of motor, I guess, or lack of Tyson Chandler-ness, prime Tyson Chandler type of energy. So yeah, I think getting Dwayne Dedmon on, you know, like you said, $13 million a year, close to, I think that's a good deal for them.
Yeah.
Give me a sec. I'm listening.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I think that Dwayne Dedmon was actually someone that I liked going actually a few seasons ago. He was a guy I wanted the Mavs to go after, and that's something I say about guys that I just really like. I want them to go after. I want the Mavs to go after them. This was when he was with the. It was Orlando. No. Spurs. And his per 36 minute numbers were actually pretty solid. And that's kind of a number that I like to look at a lot just because it tells you generally if they're efficient rebounders at the very least. And that's what I like to see in my centers is, are you a good rebounder? Can you protect the rim? And then we can talk about everything else. But to NBA, we pretty much talk about if, we obviously we have guys like Karl Anthony Towns, maybe Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a center. Marvin Bagley might be a center, but I still think that there's extreme value in having someone who can defend the rim and rebounding at the very least rebound because
I agree.
You always need rebounders, and Dwayne Dedmon has always been a very solid rebounder, and that season specifically was a 13.4. He averaged 13.4 rebounds per 36 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was solid. No one really talked about him that much. He was a backup guy who sometimes came in and started for the Spurs, and he was one of those guys that I thought maybe the Mavs should go after him if they're looking for, how the Mavs fans are. Yeah. We want to get guys who replace Tyson. Yeah. We want to get guys who will take the Jason Kidd role. We want a replica of that 2011 team, and I think that we need to get away from that personally because that might not win anymore. But I do agree about that rim protection type of mentality. I think that we need guys who can play defense. I like Dwayne Dedmon's defense. I don't think that he's, like a Rudy Gobert or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, not at all.
I think that's for the Kings, especially when they've. We talk about Luka and Kristaps being a guy, guys for the future.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings have their core too, I think.
Oh, I agree. I'm in the next 5 years, I would not be surprised if we're talking about the Mavs and the Kings battling, towards the top of the West.
Yeah.
You could throw in throw in teams like the Nuggets, obviously, because they're all still relatively young. So honestly, if we were doing a projection for 5 years, I would pick those three teams for the West.
You know what? We should do that in one of these days because we're doing free agency right now, and we've been talking about free agency for a long time. But when free agency is over, it's I'm kind of worried about what are we going to talk about because
I agree.
NFL is not yet back in season, and so we'll have to do something like that. But
I agree.
Where the Kings are going, these deals have been very satisfying for me as a non-Kings fan, but a Kings admirer.
Yeah.
But one thing that we haven't talked about, and I alluded to it earlier, was it Derrick Rose to whoa, breaking news. Whoa. Brogdon has a deal. He has a deal with the Pacers. 4 years, $85 million.
Oh no!
You know what? As an NBA fan, I actually kind of like that. As a Mavs fan, I'm pissed off. Let me talk about the Mavs for a second, because Stephen A. Smith talks about the Knicks on ESPN Airwaves. I'm going to talk about the Mavs, okay? The Mavs consistently let you down. That's what they do. Dirk was the only saving grace for that franchise. The Mavs used to be considered a Class 1 franchise in the league because they had a bunch of 50-plus win seasons in a row. I think they won like 50-plus wins 10 straight years or something. I don't know, some crazy number. They always made it to the playoffs. They were always a championship contender. They made it to the championship in 2006, and then 2007 they had the best record in the league. I think it was 67-15.
Yeah.
And the Mavs were always a very serious team with Dirk and a bunch of role players.
Yeah.
But they never, after 2011, they couldn't get it done with. He was still good. He was actually good up until last season. He wasn't a superstar last season.
I agree. If they would have,
per game guy until he was like what 36 or so, like 35. I don't know.
Yeah.
He was still a very good player, but they could never build around him until after 2011. And so I think that they've lost that Class 1 franchise title that they used to have attached to them because they've just won. And now we're seeing that they were targeting Kemba Walker. They were supposed to be one of the favorites to get him, and then Boston emerged out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. And they instantly became the favorite. Brogdon was someone who I've been really wanting for the Mavs for a long time because I thought maybe he would be somewhat attainable. You could have gotten Brogdon. The Mavs could have afforded to give him a 4-year, $85 million deal.
If the Bucks don't match that, the only thing with that is I don't know if that's necessarily high enough to where they wouldn't match it.
Yeah, we'll see. But I mean, I think.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Trust me. I agree. We talked about it even, when we were talking about what the Mavs should do. I definitely had them going after Brogdon.
It's just frustrating, man, because this is a team that really they make decent trades from time to time, and that's how they got Luka. Was trading to the number 3 overall pick. That's how they got Kristaps. But they can't do a single thing in free agency. They always have to settle for the next guys. And for a team that has actually a really big market that no one really talks about, but we're talking about. I think we talked about this, or maybe we didn't. Maybe I was ranting to some other friends, but the DFW Metroplex is the 4th biggest Metroplex in the United States.
Yeah.
It's big. It's the only 3 are Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. Those are only 3 metropolitan areas that are bigger than in population than the Dallas-Fort Worth, Arlington metropolitan area. And so I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, that's a giant market from a population standpoint. The Bulls have a better brand. The Lakers obviously have a better brand, and the Knicks have a better brand. But the Mavs brand can be good. We've seen it good in the past.
Yeah.
Dirk was there. That was a team that it wasn't like a giant brand like the Lakers and everything, but that was a team that, it had
you just were saying that even, as not that long back as 20. When did KD leave?
20. Was it 15? I think
15. No, 2016. 2016.
That's when he got there.
Yeah. So, the year before when DeAndre, shut them down, when he had originally, committed there, like you said, people were talking about Kevin Durant having a chance to come to Dallas.
Yeah.
You say that now, that sounds crazy. It's a sign-in trade with the Pacers for Malcolm Brogdon.
Oh.
The Pacers are sending a first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks to the Bucks.
Wow. Okay. As much as I'm mad, that's actually awesome. What are the Pacers? So the Pacers now have Victor Oladipo, Ricky Rubio. That's a new one. So you've got Ricky Rubio, Victor Oladipo, Malcolm Brogdon. I'm sure. What do you think? They probably would bring Malcolm Brogdon either in as a 6th man or they start him at point guard. Would you think?
Yeah.
Personally, I like him better as a shooting guard, but you can put him at point guard, and I think that
Oladipo can play 3, right?
Well, he's like 6'4", right? I think this is what I would do if I were them. I would probably play Oladipo at the 2, Brogdon at the 1 offensively, and then have Oladipo guarding point guards and Brogdon guarding shooting guards. That's a phenomenal defensive backcourt. And then you also have Miles Turner, who's a brilliant defender.
Yeah.
Still have Sabonis, who you really like, and I'm starting to like him a lot too. The question about that, though, is will they play on the court at the same time? Because they really didn't play with each other that much this season. And there were talks about Miles Turner being a trade target. He's what?
He's 6'4".
Oladipo is?
Yeah, 6'4", 210. So I mean, a bit. He's a thick 6'4".
Yeah. So he's a solid, very solid defender. Could probably guard positions 1 through 3. And then they just got T.J. Warren from trade.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Underrated acquisition because we're talking about a guy who, he has some health injuries. He has some injury concerns, but last season he averaged almost 20 points a game. This season, sorry, 2 seasons ago he averaged almost 20 points a game, 19.6. This season he averaged 18 points a game in a few less minutes, and he became a solid shooter, 43% from three. So that's a complete lineup right there. Him at small forward.
Oh, yeah.
And Ricky Rubio coming off the bench. I don't know exactly who else they have on that bench. They could probably bring back Bogdanovich. Maybe I don't know, but I think that if you bring him back, then you have TJ Warren coming off the bench.
Wow.
The Pacers are making moves.
Yeah, no.
They're taking notes.
No, I agree. Again, another dark horse team that's starting to emerge in the East a little bit. But I think it, like you said, oh man, but that hurts me for the Bucks. If I'm the Bucks, that hurts. That hurts.
Could be good long term for them if those picks end up working out, but
yeah,
it just depends on if the Pacers end up working out or not. Because those first round picks, if they're as good as they can be, especially defensively with guys like Miles Turner, Malcolm Brogdon, even Ricky Rubio, and of course Oladipo. That's a very good defensive team.
Yeah.
I mean those picks might not really be worth that much, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. And I get it. He's 27, and his ceiling is kind of. We already know what type of player he's gonna be, so I get it. I just in terms of. But I think I'm a little biased too, just because we're both so high on him. So I don't think it's a bad move. And I just let's see how the rest of free agency goes. Honestly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said Ricky Rubio was a Pacer. He's on the Suns.
Oh.
Sorry, he's been attached to the Pacers. Was it the Pacers that people were rumoring him?
Yeah.
And I saw that right under the Brogdon one, and so my mind went to him going to the Pacers. Bojan Bogdanovic is going to Utah.
There you go.
There you go. We were just talking about that. That's a 4-year, $73 million deal. That's a little less than $20 million a year. So, probably like 18 mil.
Yeah.
Probably, I think that's about $18 million a year. So that might be the remainder of their cap, which is completely fine in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I mean, we were just talking about it. That again, a team that no one is, talking about, and so it's going to be interesting.
Just immediately reacting to them, and also the Kings. I'm going to look up the standings real quick.
Yeah.
I think we can come up with a good list of all the Western teams that have a chance to make the playoffs, because they're actually quite a bit.
Dude.
Of course, the Warriors are probably not the same Warriors that we thought, but they're still a contender, making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then when Klay Thompson comes back, they could win the championship if they get the right pieces. We'll see what DeMarcus Cousins does, because we haven't really heard much about him, but we've kind of, I don't know, maybe he goes to the Knicks.
That's
a lot of people think that he still could return to the Warriors, and I think that would be a good move for both of them. You got the Nuggets. I think they're pretty much a lock. The Trailblazers, we should talk about that max deal with
Damian
Lillard. Yeah. But real quick, the Rockets are, of course, still a team to watch out for in the playoffs. Jazz were the 5th seed. They could honestly move up to, 3rd, 2nd.
Yeah.
So you got them. The Thunder, I don't think, are going anywhere. They're not losing anybody. They are talking about trading Steven Adams, and if they trade him I've talked about Kevin Love going to Oklahoma City. I don't know if I would do Steven Adams for Kevin Love, but if you did some sort of variation of that and got maybe the pieces in return, the Thunder could still be a legitimate team. The Spurs still have their duo of DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, and then they just brought Rudy Gay back on a 2-year deal. So they're, Popovich, they're always going to be a consideration for the playoffs. but maybe they're one of those teams that slips out. I don't know. I mean, because now you got the Kings with supporting pieces. Harrison Barnes is back. Trevor Ariza is there. You said that Dwayne Dedman was going there, correct?
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the Lakers.
Yeah.
You have maybe the Pelicans. I don't think either of us are buying it yet, but if they just shock everybody, I have to say they're at least in the conversation. Yeah. And then I'm losing faith with the Mavs, but if they can get some pieces, they're heavily linked to Patrick Beverley. If they could get Tobias Harris or someone like that, and then bring in a defensive specialist at center, power forward, whatever they want to not use Kristaps Porzingis at, it could still be a contender. So that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 teams that I just listed. I'm not taking the Timberwolves seriously. Did I say the Clippers?
No.
Yeah, the Clippers are also still a team. If they get Kawhi Leonard and another player, then they're taken seriously. The West is stacked.
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
Really need to start talking about the whole 16 team.
And we didn't even get to, the team that always seems to kind of shock everyone. There's always at least one of those.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. Literally, you could have Portland going from being the 3 seed to not making the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone would be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Another team that I'm very curious to see what actually ends up happening with their whole drama situation is the Rockets.
Look at this real quick. I'm sorry. This is just funny. Oh, man. Sorry. If you're listening and not watching, there's just this funny picture on Twitter that I saw as I was looking for more news. X's throughout. There are pictures of Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving playing for the Knicks, and they're all X'd out. It's funny. You'd have to look at it yourself, but it's very funny. Anyway, yeah, the Knicks are a bust. That's unfortunate for them, but maybe one day they'll be good. We'll see. What were you saying? I'm sorry. I completely cut you off. I just thought that was funny.
God. Too much, man. Too much. Sometimes.
Utah is really I really like what they're doing. I really do.
Literally, there's 12 teams at the very least you could see making the playoffs and not being surprised about it in the West. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. I think we really need to have conversations. The league needs to have conversations about making no conferences, pretty much.
1 through 16, yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing that the Nets are getting better. The 76ers might be losing out on pieces. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Heat will kind of rise up into playoff contention, but when you talk about Eastern playoff contention, that doesn't mean anything. The West is seeing the West. Those teams, not only are there a bunch of really good playoff teams, there are a bunch of teams in that list that could actually make the finals. I think the Warriors could still be a finals contender team. Mm-hmm. The Nuggets could make the finals, especially with Michael Porter Jr. coming back. And
exactly.
A contributor in year 2, that's awesome for them. The Rockets could reasonably be a team if they could make some moves. They could be a contender. The Jazz, I'm not sure if they're contender or not, but they could be.
Yeah.
The Clippers could be a contender. The Lakers could be a contender. I mean, that's crazy. I don't think we've ever seen it this stacked.
That's insane. That's insane.
And well, speaking of, we did mention Lillard and the Trailblazers. I think there's a little pause of the news. If there is more news, then we could bring that up and you can interrupt me. But Lillard agreed to the Supermax this year. What was it? 4 years, 196 million, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up just to verify, but I think that is
198 million, something like that.
Yeah.
96, 198, something like that.
Something very, very, very big, and I think that he deserves it. What'd you say?
4-year, 196 million.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's after his 2-year $61 million expires.
Mm-hmm.
So,
my worry for them, I just don't. What are they going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't. To me, they're staying. They haven't done anything to improve, and you have all these different teams in the West that are making all these moves to, continue to get better. And so, to me, like I said, you literally could see Portland go from being the 3 seed. Not that they're not a good team. It's just everyone else in the West is getting better. So you could see them literally going from being a 3 seed to not making the playoffs.
Yeah, or they made it to the Western Conference Finals to.
Yeah, exactly.
They could be the loser in this free agency in this offseason.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, I guess they got Nas Little, but he's not going to do anything year one. I can tell you, we both know, like, he has physical characteristics to be a high potential player, but I can tell you right now, he's not going to do anything for them this season. That's all they have right now as far as offseason acquisitions. They, I do like the duo of him and CJ McCollum. Are they looking at getting Enes Kanter back?
Yeah, they're talking. Enes is talking about. He's drawing interest from Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, who's probably out now, and Portland. So really, the Lakers, the Clippers, and Portland are the 3 big teams. Also, Boston has been kind of a dark horse with him.
I could see that. That's nice, actually. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I've been saying on this podcast that the Celtics, need a center. I was saying go after DeMarcus Cousins. I think he'd be a good fit there. You lose on Al Horford, he'd be a good fit there. Or he was a good fit there. Now you lost him. Mm-hmm. Real quick, we were talking about the Pacers. Now we're going to go back to talking about them because I didn't realize this was before the Malcolm Brogdon thing, but Jeremy Lamb is also going to the Indiana Pacers.
Wow.
So they have depth.
Wow.
They
yeah, that's a solid sign. That's a solid sign.
What was the deal with them last season? Did they start Sabonis, or did they start, like, I don't think they really played the two of Sabonis and Turner together very much at all.
Yeah, no. They started them, but it was then they would get into the whole, stacking or separating their minutes.
Yeah.
So one was always on the court. But I say that, but also at the same time. I found this kind of interesting too. Ramona's talking about this right now, that Kawhi and Magic have been talking back and forth. Apparently.
Gosh dang! Look, I'm not gonna. I might drop out of this podcast if he goes to the Lake. What is there to talk about? What is there to talk about? The Lakers are going to win the championship if Kawhi Leonard goes to the Lakers. Because we saw, okay, so you remember season 1 of the Miami Heat, it was LeBron, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and then their bench was kind of lacking, but they had Mike Miller, but that was really about it. Mario Chalmers was okay. Shane Battier was on that first-year team, right? No, he wasn't. Okay, he
came the first year they won the title. Was
okay.
His first year there.
Yeah, I mean, it was the big 3, and then everyone else was kind of, underwhelming, but good enough to get there.
Yeah.
The Lakers are not that. The Lakers have maybe probably the most this is assuming Kawhi goes there. The most talented big 3 we've ever seen. And Kyle Kuzma, who just averaged 19 points a game this season, right? We know that he can shoot. His numbers dropped off a little bit, but he's a capable 3-point scorer. Alex Caruso is a restricted free agent, and he was my number 1 gem on the free agency as far as guys just no one's talking about. He's capable of doing a lot of things.
Oh, yes. Like dunking on people.
Yeah, dunking on people. He's a solid handler of the basketball.
He can shoot.
He's got length. He can play defense. They brought in, and then the thing about this, you've got those guys. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is on the team still, right?
He's a free agent this year.
Okay, so he might leave.
They're talking about bringing him back on like a minimum or using an MLE on him.
Yeah, the mid-level exception. Yeah, that would. I mean, they have a lot of. If you bring in Kawhi Leonard, you have those four guys, Alex Caruso. You have the potential of bringing back Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We haven't heard much about him going anywhere else. He's a really good defender, from what I understand. Capable shooter, but his numbers are kind of on and off per year.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the league and all these free agent, guys who are not going to get big deals but could get the mid-level exception or, be a bench play. Like these bench players, they're going to want to go to Los Angeles, just like they did with Miami, just not in year one. I mean, I don't see how that team loses, even if they don't have a bench. Even if they don't have a bench, playoffs come. You don't normally use your bench that much in the playoffs, or at least toward the end of the playoffs. The Spurs and the Thunder, back when the Thunder had Durant, Westbrooks or Serge Ibaka, all those guys. The Spurs and the Thunder played each other in the Western Conference Finals in order to play the Heat when the Heat won their first championship. People said the Spurs are the deeper team; they're going to win. Mm-hmm. And I remember I made a bet with Josh. I made a bet. He said that they would get swept, the Thunder, and I was like, no, that's ridiculous. He said they're the deeper team. They're the deeper team. Well, when you have a team as talented as Westbrook, Durant, Harden, Ibaka, and then whoever the heck they had on that team in the playoffs, you give them all the minutes. You just, like, during the season, you might lessen their minutes a little bit for, lessening injuries and things like that. We're seeing that more and more now. Mm-hmm. Playoffs, you just go. You give them all the minutes that they can handle, and you let it work itself out. The Lakers will be fine. That team's winning the championship if they get Kawhi. I don't want to see it. I think it's going to be incredibly boring. And I think, personally, it's not, like, I don't blame LeBron. I wouldn't consider it a dent on his legacy, but it just doesn't make those championships great. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make them great for him. It doesn't make it great for Kawhi or Anthony Davis. That's what they were supposed to do. That's not even what they were supposed to do. That's what, like, if you didn't do it, then that's when it's considered a great championship for someone else. But it's not great when you have. It's just not. I don't know. It's not great. There's nothing great about.
It's expected.
Individually, as a team, that's a great championship. Individually, that's not a real thing to lean on for your for your legacy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree. Rodney Hood's returning to the Trailblazers. That was interesting. Thomas Bryant re-signed with the Wizards.
Saw that, yeah.
He was on your underrated.
He was on the list. He was number 5, I think.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think they have going for them. That and Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
But Bradley, I think they need to trade him.
Now.
Pretty much. I mean, because they're at the point they're pretty much capped out, and they'll be capped out for a while.
Yeah.
If he's a free agent, he's going to go somewhere else. They need to get rid of him. There was one that I just saw that I was going to say something. Gosh, there are too many of these. Apparently, Jamal Murray is talking about an extension with the.
Yeah, I found that. I mean, potentially, if you can sign him for, relatively cheap right now, and he continues to grow, that could be a a good discount deal for them at least.
Yeah. What do you think about? So first off, I will say Al-Farouq Aminu agreed. This was a while ago. This was 5:21 p.m. Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted that Al-Farouq Aminu agreed to a 3-year, $29 million deal with the Orlando Magic. I think I left them off of my top 5 dumb team list, but I actually kind of find them to be really dumb. And
I feel like they crowd their front court so much. That front court is so crowded.
yeah, I have no idea what they never like when they make picks or they get free agents. I don't know what they're doing. They don't get scores. Al-Farouq Aminu is not going to get you points. He's going to occasionally hit the open shot, but he's primarily a defensive guy.
Yeah.
You have Aaron Gordon. He's a solid player, but he's not going to get you to the playoffs. Or I guess they did.
But it was Vucevic. Yeah, they made the playoffs. But Vucevic had a freaking outstanding year.
Yeah, Vucevic is back with them. I do think I like that for them, but I
did he officially resign?
Yeah, it was
I missed
did he? I'll look that up real quick. There's so much news today that it's hard to tell everything, but
to be honest, who really cares about the Magic? I mean,
yeah, that's something that I am looking for. Let's see. I don't think it's been made official.
The
last thing I'm seeing on just from Googling it is that 19 hours ago, it was said that he was going to agree to a 4-year, $100 million contract. 10 hours ago, it says Nikola Vucevic intends to re-sign with the Orlando Magic.
Yeah. I'm just seeing this on ESPN 30 minutes ago. It talks about the signings of Nikola Vucevic, Terrence Ross, and Al-Farouq Aminu. Now has Orlando just below the luxury tax. So I guess, he's agreed in principle or whatever.
Yeah, their team, I just don't know what they're doing.
I don't either. This is random, but about the Magic. It's funny. I saw this on Twitter. Mo Bamba beat Steph in a shooting contest at Steph's Under Armour camp thing.
That is funny.
I thought that was funny.
I will say I do like Mo Bamba.
I do too, but he has nowhere to play.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point too. He is someone that you said, their front court is very loaded.
Like
have Gordon, Vucevic, now Al-Farouq Aminu.
Bismack, they signed Bismack Biyombo to this huge deal that, I mean, it's just it's frustrating because I feel like Mo Bamba should be getting minutes, and you should be giving him all the minutes you can at this point.
Yeah. No, so, I mean, yeah, he's someone who I thought personally you give him minutes, you tank, and you try to build with guys who can score the basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Somehow they made the playoffs this year. And if they continue with that trend, they're just not going to get better.
Yeah.
Because, we've gotten to the point where we kind of know what team free agents are going to go, what teams free agents are going to go to, the big ones, and what teams they're not going. They're not going to Orlando.
Yeah.
Get good draft picks, though.
Yeah, but exactly.
The last draft pick that was notable was Jonathan Isaac, and he hasn't done anything for them.
Exactly.
It's kind of upsetting to me. I really wanted to.
Again, another non-scoring defensive forward.
Yeah. Here is something notable to say real quick. Tim McMahon, and actually, I think Brian Windhorst said it first. The Danny Green is a prime target for the Mavs, and according to Brad Townsend, that is starting to heat up, and so that would be an interesting move for the Mavs.
I like that for them.